I remember it like it was yesterday. Me, an inquisitive 5 or 6 year old, studying my prized collection of hockey cards. Naturally, I liked the captain cards the best. All my friends at school knew it, and so did I, that the C on a player's jersey means captain. And everyone knows that the captain is the best player on the team. As I sifted through my cards, this was true in Detroit, where in 1991, Steve Yzerman had 103 points to lead the Red Wings. In New York, where Mark Messier had 107 points to lead the Rangers. In LA, where Wayne Gretzky had 121 points to lead the Kings. And in Pittsburgh, where Mario Lemieux with 131 points led the Penguins. But then I noticed something strange. What the heck was going on in Hartford? Shouldn't John Cullen be the captain there? After all, he led his team in points, but only had an A on his jersey. According to my calculations, Pat Verbeek and Zarley Zalapsky should be wearing A's, while Cullen should be wearing a C. Instead, Randy Ladouceur with only 10 points was the captain. Weird, I thought. But Hartford wasn't the only team where something fishy was up. Things were amiss in St. Louis too. Here, Brett Hull had the most points, but a guy with bushy eyebrows who I'd never even heard of, named Garth Butcher, was apparently the captain. What the heck? Hockey cards in hand, I waited for my dad to come home from work. Dads know pretty much everything, so I thought that for sure my dad would be able to tell me what was up with these teams. My dad explained that players get to wear the C on their jersey not because they are the best player on their team, but because they are the best leader. Interesting, I thought. Certainly a different strategy than my tyke team uses, but hey, I'm 6 years old and I know enough that the big leagues are probably different than the hockey I play. My second question then for my dad was, what does it mean to be a leader? And why can't goalies be leaders? My dad wasn't so sure about the goalie part, but explained that leaders are the players on the team who the other players can depend on every game to play their hardest. Interesting, I thought. While maybe not a complete definition of leadership, I nevertheless had a new tidbit of information to share with my friends at school the next day. This leads me to my first 2 points of what I believe leadership to be. First, consistency is essential. You don't have to be the best player on your team to be a leader, but you do always have to try your best. People want leaders to follow a clear path so that at each point they can understand exactly where they are and where they are going. Consistency allows others to make progress towards fulfilling their own goals and the goals of the organization. If it's time for a new direction, consistency guarantees that new actions will acknowledge the context of prior ones. Consistency cuts down on surprises and lets everyone do their best. Secondly, you have to be the leader that your organization requires you to be. No one asked Hartford's mustache-clad Randy Ladouceur to be a goal scorer, but they did depend on him to consistently come to play every night by being the best that he could be in his role as a defenseman. Now, let's backtrack to 6-year-old John. At school the next day, unbeknownst to me, I was getting a chance to practice leadership. Not necessarily by choice, but more by natural selection, I suppose. You see, at 6 years old, I was one of the tallest kids in my class. Coupled with my March birthday, which gave me and my little muscles a head start on some of my December-born peers, and my unmatched passion for sports, I was one of North Gore Public School's finest recess athletes. My height and skills naturally made me a first pick in schoolyard games, and without seeking friends, I seemed to easily acquire them. More often than not, I was called on to pick the teams, and to the bewilderment of my friends, would often pick some of the weaker players first. This leads me to my second 2 points about leadership. The first is, good leaders are authentic. To be authentic, you have to have a sense of believability and, more importantly, empathy. I think people want a sense of a personal relationship with the people who lead them. They want to know that the leader is who they say they are, and they want to believe that they have empathy for their situation. They want leaders to see the world not only from the leader's perspective, but also from their own. I think that this is why often some of the weakest players I picked on the schoolyard would end up being some of the better team players. The second is passion. I think what passion does is attract us to the leaders in the first place. Passion is the dramatic presentation declaring that the mission is truly important. Passion shows that the leader is committed not only functionally, but also emotionally. Passion is the ability to convey a leader's total ownership of the mission. I know this to be true because the times that I have found the most success as a leader are also the times that I have been most passionate. My growth and journey from a recess athlete to a former competitive athlete to a business owner to an MBA student and soon to be member of the workforce has not been without setbacks, some minor and some very major. I think that these setbacks shape you as a leader. I know that it is in these times that you learn the most because they give you an opportunity to seek feedback, to listen, and to reflect. These three things are important as a leader because they allow you to become better. They shape you into a better person and in turn, a better leader. In closing, I want to say that leadership is not a one-time thing. It's a journey, something that from the time we are very young is developed and molded within us. It is a collection of the opportunities we have to lead, the chances we have to reflect on these opportunities, and how we react in the future. In my opinion, everyone has the capacity to be a leader at different times in their lives.